In the heart of a roaring metropolis, a city of glowing towers, ceaseless traffic, and ambition stacked higher than the skyline, lived a man no one noticed. He was neither a banker nor a broker. He held no titles, gave no speeches, and signed no contracts. He wore a faded blue jumpsuit, swept the floors of the financial district, and answered only to a clock and a mop. His name was Elias. Every morning, long before the sun touched the high rises of Neo-Babylon, Elias walked the marble halls alone. While others chased wealth, he seemed to carry it, not in his pockets, but in his presence. To most, he was invisible. To Marcus, a rising young executive, Elias became unforgettable. Marcus was drowning. Despite his sharp suit, smart watch, and promising title, he was buried in credit card debt, car payments, impulse spending, and mounting anxiety. His days were filled with performance metrics and artificial smiles. His nights with restlessness and worry. On a particularly grey Monday morning, as he hurried through the lobby with a coffee in one hand and his phone in the other, he passed Elias sweeping near the elevators. He paused, something in him unsettled. He turned, and without knowing exactly why, asked, "Elias, how do you always look so calm? You clean floors, I run numbers, I should be the one smiling." Elias didn't miss a beat. He leaned on his broom and smiled like a man who had nothing to prove. "I have everything I need," he said, "and more. I became wealthy long before I had money." Marcus chuckled. "You? Wealthy?" The old man didn't blink. "Come sit," he said, nodding toward a bench by the window. "If you've got a few minutes, I'll share what someone once shared with me." Curiosity overpowered Marcus's rush. He sat. Elias joined him, setting the broom gently aside. "The world will sell you the illusion of wealth every day," Elias said. "Cars, clothes, status. But real wealth, the kind that makes you sleep well at night, starts inside." He held up his hand, 5 fingers extended. "There are 5 truths I've lived by. I call them scrolls, like in the old stories. These 5 changed my life, and they'll change yours if you let them." He started with the most surprising lesson. "Every time you're paid," Elias said, "keep 10% for yourself, not to spend, to keep." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "That doesn't sound like much." Elias nodded. "It isn't, and that's why it works. You don't notice it, but the money notices you. It begins to grow, slowly, quietly, like seeds. I didn't invest in flashy things. I planted in simple, steady soil, dividend funds, small rental properties, people I trusted. I let my money do the hard work." He looked out the window, then back at Marcus. "Most people spend first and hope to save what's left, but there's never anything left. That's why they're always chasing, never arriving." Marcus was listening now, not just hearing. "But money," Elias continued, "is only one corner of the foundation. The next is your body." He tapped his chest. "This, your health, is the vault that holds everything. I've known men who had millions and couldn't bend down to tie their own shoes." He described how he rose early, stretched before dawn, drank water with lemon, and took long solitary walks. He ate mostly fresh foods, avoided heavy dinners, and rarely touched alcohol. "Not because I'm a saint," he said, grinning, "but because I want to feel good every day, not just on payday. I treat my body like it's worth millions, because it is." He leaned closer. "You can build the tallest tower of gold, but if your knees ache, your breath is short, and your mind is foggy, what's the point?" Marcus nodded slowly. Elias let a brief silence linger before continuing. "Most people spend their whole lives trying to buy happiness," he said. "They think it's in cars, gadgets, vacations. But happiness isn't something you buy. It's something you build, brick by brick, choice by choice." He told Marcus how he found joy in stillness, in watching the sunrise before the city stirred, in greeting the receptionist by name, in handing a sandwich to someone who had nothing. "Happiness is when your life aligns with your values," he said. "You don't need more, you need less, but more meaning." Marcus sat back, arms folded, thinking hard. Elias gave him space, then spoke again. "Here's something most never learn," he said. "Before every big decision, I ask myself 3 questions. Is this a need, a want, or an impulse?" He looked at Marcus seriously. "Most people never pause, they just react. Swipe the card, sign the contract, regret it later. But wisdom whispers, and it only speaks in silence. He shared how he'd made mistakes in his youth, but learned to slow down, to seek mentors, to read old books, to listen more than he spoke. Even now, he said, I read something wise every morning before I lift a mop. Marcus smiled. What's the fifth scroll? Elias's eyes softened. Give. Marcus looked surprised. I give a portion of what I earn and a portion of my time, Elias said, not because I have so much, but because I need to remain open. Generosity clears the channel. Every time I gave, with no expectation, something in me grew, and often, something came back in return. But that's not the point. Giving expands your soul, and a bigger soul can hold more life. They sat in silence. It wasn't awkward. It was full. Marcus came back to that bench often after that day. He began saving 10%. He cancelled a subscription he didn't need. He traded energy drinks for water, fast food for simple meals, noise for silence. He took longer walks and deeper breaths. He started asking himself better questions. He didn't become a millionaire overnight, but something shifted. He became grounded, and then gradually wealthy. In money, in peace, in spirit. Marcus's transformation didn't happen all at once. At first, it was awkward. Saving 10% felt like cutting off circulation. He had to cancel dinners out with friends, skip some vacations, and forgo the latest gadgets. But slowly, the discomfort turned to discipline. His savings account grew, modest at first, then steadily, like water filling a well. He stopped living paycheck to paycheck, and with that shift came something even more valuable than cash: control. He began waking up earlier, inspired by Elias. At first, it was just 10 minutes to stretch. Then came a journal. Then silence. He started writing his thoughts, fears, frustrations, little victories. The act of slowing down sharpened his decisions. He no longer rushed into deals or arguments. He listened more, and people began to notice. One day, his boss commented, "You've changed. You seem steady, centered." "I had a good teacher," Marcus replied. He wasn't referring to a TED Talk or a finance guru. He meant the janitor, and Marcus paid it forward. He started mentoring a younger colleague who reminded him of himself. Overworked, overwhelmed, underguided. He shared Elias's principles. He simplified them. Save 10%. Guard your body. Find joy in what money can't buy. Think before you act. Give without expecting. It became more than advice. It became his compass. Marcus often returned to the bench by the window. He liked to imagine Elias still sweeping nearby, listening in quiet approval. The man had taught him more in 5 conversations than all his years in school. Years passed. Marcus bought a modest home, started a family, and eventually left the corporate world to build something of his own. A financial literacy program for inner city youth. It didn't make him rich, not in dollars, but the fulfillment it brought made him feel like the wealthiest man alive. He never forgot Elias. On the anniversary of his passing, Marcus arranged a small memorial by the statue. A circle of candles, 5 scrolls printed on parchment, and a bouquet of simple white flowers. Strangers walked by and paused to read the plaque. A few even took pictures. One young woman lingered and asked, "Did you know him?" Marcus nodded. "He changed my life." She tilted her head. "What was he? A professor?" "No," Marcus said, smiling. "He was a janitor." She looked confused, then intrigued. "And he taught you what?" Marcus pointed to the scrolls. "Everything that matters." That night, Marcus wrote a new note, folded carefully, placed at the foot of the statue. "Elias, I passed it on. Your whisper became a voice. Your habits became a legacy. You were never just a janitor. You were a master of the good life. May those who need it next hear your story in time." And so the story of Elias lived on, not in textbooks or bank accounts, but in decisions, in changed lives, in the quiet strength of those who finally learned that true wealth begins not with a dollar, but with a decision.